And now, an Envision Financial podcast with Luke Smith on Canberra's 2CC.
And on that very positive, cheerful note, good afternoon, Luke Smith.
I'm good, how are you?
The weekend's looking fantastic.
Oh, super duper.
I see you're ready for a round of golf already.
Yeah, trying to. It's been one of those days where my best of intentions to do a lot of things has not transpired. So, yeah, I should have stayed in bed this morning.
No. We'd miss you if you did that. Now, here we go. Today we're talking about changes to super thresholds and how they might impact your thinking for the new year.
Yes.
So, where possible, it's always a good idea, as the Boy Scouts used to tell us, to be prepared.
Totally.
So, there's a few things changing at the 1st of July, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. That's exactly right. So I thought we'll bring this one into play now to get people thinking, because it's far too frustrating to be, oh, hang on, can I, but you mean, and from next week, but I could have, how come no one, and we're trying to avoid all of those today. So some key things here in relation to superannuation that a lot of people will be very familiar with, because we've banged on about a lot of these strategically and legislatively for quite a while. So when it comes to claiming a tax deduction, we know that $30,000 is the concessional contribution cap. That's the most you can put into super and claim a tax deduction, and that's from all employers, per person, whether it's you or work putting in the money. Now, that $30,000 limit is going to move to, wait for it, $32,500. Absolutely meaningless.
Is it?
Well, it should be 40, 50, 60,000 bucks, but that's a whole nother show. So 30,000 is going to 32,500. So if you're speaking with your employer, or if you have salary sacrifice in place, or you're planning on making a deductible contribution early in the new financial year, 32,500, not 30,000. And going forwards, that will then impact potentially the cap space that you will have in the future. And also keep in mind that people who want to make a contribution to super who have already retired, provided they're under 67, they will be able to put in $32,500 as well. Because I find there's this imaginary connection between, I can't put money into super, I'm not working. There's nothing that says you need to worry about that where you're under 67. There is no direct connection between the two. So if you want to put in $32,500 on the 1st of July because you've decided to sell an investment property and you've retired at 30 June, great, consider doing so, because it would be very advantageous from a tax perspective for you to consider that. The second threshold that then will be changing is the non-concessional limit. The non-concessional limit is where you put money into superannuation and you do not claim a tax deduction. Now, where is this used? This is used where you have inherited money. This is used where you have sold an asset in your own name and you want to bolster the capital base from which you intend to draw a tax-free pension when you retire. The limit at the moment is $120,000. The limit is going to $130,000 from the 1st of July, which means if you put $120,000 in this year, you could put $130,000 in on the 1st of July. You could also then do $390,000 as a 3-year equivalent using the bring forward rules. So if you had a ton of money at the moment and you were looking to add money to super for you and a spouse because you might have inherited some cash or won lotto or sold an investment property, it would make a lot of sense to not trigger the bring forward rules, because you will not benefit to the same extent from the 1st of July. Because if you trigger the bring forward rules before the legislation moves, you're stuck with the rules in the year that you trigger it. So if I was doing that, I'd go, oh, here's $120,000 in June. Here's $390,000 on the 1st of July. And you've maximised your ability to get money into what will be a tax-free environment once you start a pension. So think about those rules, because it's very, very advantageous. And also keep in mind that the non-concessional rules are not impacted by things like downsizer legislation. I find as well people have some confusion potentially around, well, I've done the downsizer, that was $300,000. I've used up 300 of the 390. No. They're completely separate. They don't offset each other. They're two different tests. They're two different limits, and you can do them both at the same time. So a great way to get a real big block of money into superannuation, where you sell the family home and you've made a ton of money on that place because you bought it in 1994 for $160,000 and now it's 1.6 million. Use those different legislations in conjunction with each other because it's really, really advantageous. The next one from a pension perspective is the transfer balance cap. So the transfer balance cap is currently $2 million. And as we've discussed in previous shows, the transfer balance cap is the maximum amount of money that you can have in a tax-free pension structure in retirement. Now, a few things to keep in mind here. Where you have superannuation and you have not started a pension, you will be able to take advantage of $2.1 million from the 1st of July. Where you have already triggered a pension, you would have had the value of that pension recorded at the ATO, and you may have triggered a lower number depending on when you did it. The transfer balance cap started at 1.6 million in 2017, went to 1.7, went to 1.9, went to 2. Now it's going to 2.1. So do not assume that you get the full indexed amount. And I say that because the general rule, or the rule, it's not a general rule, it's the rule, the percentage that you have not used is the percentage of the increase that you get. So let's say you've used 80% of the transfer balance cap in the year that you started it. If it indexes, you would get 20% of the increase because that's all the room you have left in the threshold or the limit that you triggered. The important thing here is not the detail. The important thing here is do not assume that you get an extra $100,000 where you have started a pension in a previous financial year. Check your details, check your data, because if you make that assumption, there's going to be tax implications from the ATO. They're going to come knocking and you're not going to like the outcome. All right, so again, don't assume with this one. Check, go to your trusted advisor, see if there is room. If you do have room, you could have more of your superannuation in a pension that could currently be treated as an excess component and taxed at 15% on the earnings. So it's important and tax effective for you to check and see how much room you have, because it could increase the amount of tax-free pension that you maintain going forwards. The sort of last part of the implications of an increase in the thresholds is you may be able to get more money into super because the total super balance limits are going to improve. So if you have less than $1.84 million, you could use the full $390. If you're between 1.84 and 1.97, you can do 260, and so on and so on. So again, big misconception that I see regularly is people come in and they go, well, I've got lots of super, I've got this cash in my own name, I can do $390,000 next year, that's amazing. Well, you can't if you've got more than 2.1 million of super. You can't if you have more than 1.97 million of super. So again, don't assume, because the total super balance is assessed, your eligibility to make a contribution next year on the balance of your super at 30 June this year. Now, that's an absolute word salad. But be mindful of your ability to add money to super, because here's a little strategy for people. Let's say I had 1.9 million in super and a ton of cash outside. Leading into 30 June, where I've met a condition of release, I might pull some money out so that at 30 June, I'm under 1.84 million. Say you're at 1.85, take out 10 grand. Now you're at 1.84. On the 1st of July, you could put in 360,000. If you've got more than 1.84 million, you're over by 10 grand. You're over by $1. You could only put in 260, not 390. So there are strategic benefits for looking and being early leading into 30 June around, well, what am I planning to do next year? And don't leave it to the middle of June to get cute, because it generally results in tears. And that's why we're sort of throwing up the thinking now in relation to these changes, because you could have a ton of money outside of superannuation for you and your partner, be a little bit over a threshold, potentially take out a little bit of money to get more in from the 1st of July. So think about what you're going to do now leading into the end of the financial year so that you can maximise the strategies that are available to you and keep everything as tax-free as possible.
Now, if you are sitting there listening and you're as confused as I am, this is why you need a really good advisor, isn't it?
Well, I think it's just about understanding the strategies that are available and the implications of these changes. I find a lot of people come in and just want to make sure that they're not missing out on anything. And this is where something that doesn't seem like a big deal could actually have a huge amount of benefit. Because I'll give you an example. If I've got $390,000 sitting in my own name and that income is potentially taxable, and I could take $10,000 out of my super to get under a threshold to be able to put all of that money in on the 1st of July and start a tax-free pension, that is hugely advantageous, not just for the year that you do it, but from a compounded perspective going forwards, because you've got a huge amount of money in a completely tax-free environment that pays no capital gains tax, that you have 100% access to, that you can transfer to the kids on a tax-free basis. So there are some wonderful benefits about being proactive and understanding that a little tweak here and a little twist there could actually open up a plethora of opportunities that you may not have considered because you went, oh, it's only this. It's not only that, it's potentially hugely advantageous, both from a tax perspective and an estate planning perspective. And I just want people to be aware of what they could do to improve their position.
Luke Smith from Envision Financial is with me in the studio today. We're looking at some of the changes to super thresholds that are due to take place on the 1st of July. It's closer than you think, and how these changes may impact your thinking for the new financial year. What are the key things to remember about the changes coming up on the 1st of July?
Yeah, so the first one to keep in mind is everybody loves a deduction. The concessional or the deductible limit is going up. Take advantage of it. The non-concessional limit is going up. Now, a lot of people still come in and go, oh, I've done my 30,000, that's all I can do. No. You can make a non-concessional contribution to super, currently 120, going to 130. Lovely. You can also put in 3 times that annual limit in one go. So you can now find 390,000 instead of 360,000, which is great. Little strategy tip, be mindful of triggering the bring forward rules this year, because you will then have to play with the 360, not the 390, and you can do that by putting in 121,000. So you go 1,000 over, you've missed out on the changes for the next 3 years. So be mindful of that. Check your balances leading into 30 June. Before the ad break, we spoke about the changes in the thresholds for the total super balance. That is simply your ability or eligibility to put money into superannuation in the next financial year, because your eligibility is measured at 30 June. So be mindful of that, because you may want to take a little bit of money out to get under the sliding thresholds to put more in next year. So don't leave that to the last minute. Get well in front of that with your trusted advisor and make sure that if it's appropriate, which it may be, because if you plan on doing a large recontribution strategy to help your kids by reducing the tax that they will pay if you die, this is a really, really good one that mums and dads should be checking on, because it can add a huge amount of power to the next generation's inheritance, because we know that the government very kindly takes 17% of your taxable component if you die. So a recontribution strategy is great, but a recontribution strategy is completely contingent on your total super balance. If you've triggered a transfer balance cap, remember that you don't get the increase. Also, then make sure that your concessional contribution paperwork is on point. If you're doing it personally, no notice of intent, no deduction. So I think if people can sort of address those 3 leading into 30 June, they'll have some really good options in relation to their strategies, and they'll make the most of their planning, especially if they're salary sacrificing with their employer. They can update the information with their employer and bolster what's going into super right out of the gates on the 1st of July, so that you don't need to make any large catch-up payments leading into 30 June.
Now, tell me one more time, Luke, what's the difference between a transfer balance cap and a total super balance?
So,
Because this is a curly one, isn't it?
Not really. Total super balance is the total amount of super you can have, and the total super balance talks about your ability to put it in. So that total super balance is putting in. Mm-hmm. Transfer balance cap is how much can I have in a tax-free pension? That's coming out. So if you think total super balance going in, transfer balance cap coming out. Two very, very different things. Unfortunately, that they've for a very long time have had the same balance.
The same threshold.
Correct. Yep. And people get them confused. Think total super balance, eligibility to put in, transfer balance cap, tax-free maximum in a pension coming out.
So, Luke, where can listeners get more information?
Yeah, office number 6260-4749. We've got envisionfinancial.com.au on the internet. We've got the Strategy Stacker, Luke Talks Money on iTunes and Spotify. We've got YouTube channel, Envision Financial Canberra, where we've got a backlog of all of our shows. You can sit and watch it. You don't have to read anything. See us smiling on a Friday afternoon. And we've also got it in Smart Money Strategy, your ultimate guide to financial plannings, which means I'm going to have to probably do a reprint because the numbers are getting further and further out because they keep bumping these things up, and I've got to keep filling them in the book.
Adjustments.
When I give it to people and they take it from a meeting, I've got to fill it and get it out to them. So
yeah, well, the book came out in the month of March. How many years ago now?
23.
Yes, so 3 years ago. There we go. Time goes quickly, doesn't it?
Amazing.
Luke, we'll catch you next Friday.
See you next week.
Luke Smith from Envision Financial.